When the conversation of the greatest point guards of all time comes up, we usually hear the same names: Magic Johnson, Stephen Curry, John Stockton, Oscar Robertson. But one name that often gets lost in translation is Jason Kidd. But why is that? Kidd has the All-Star appearances, the Finals appearances, and a championship ring, and still, he's often ranked pretty low on people's lists of the greatest point guards of all time. And I think I know a few reasons why Kidd is forgotten. One of those reasons is Steve Nash. Most decades or eras in NBA history have one definitive GOAT at the point guard position. In the 60s, it was Oscar Robertson. In the 80s, it was Magic with IT in a close second. In the 90s, it was John Stockton. And in the 2010s, it was Curry with CP3 coming in second. But the 2000s is a tricky decade to compare. All throughout the 2000s, Steve Nash and Jason Kidd battled for the title of the best point guard in the league. But today, Nash is regarded by most as the best point guard of that decade. But why? When you compare the numbers, accolades, and overall team success, there isn't really anything that makes Nash stand out over Kidd until you get to the MVP awards. Although their numbers seem to be very similar, one of these players is often overlooked, and the other is constantly being brought up in the GOAT PG debates. Which brings me to one of the reasons why I think Jason Kidd is forgotten: Steve Nash's play style and MVP awards. But first, let's tackle Nash's play style. What exactly was Steve Nash's play style? Steve Nash was a pass-first point guard who could shoot the ball at a highly elite level. Like I said before, Nash led the league in assists 5 times during his prime, with Kidd also managing to be the league leader in assists 5 times. But if both were known as great passers, what differentiates the two players? Scoring ability. Steve Nash is objectively one of the most efficient guards in the history of basketball. His career shooting splits are 49% from the field, 43% from 3, which is 11th all-time, and 90.43% from the free throw line, which is only second all-time behind Stephen Curry. Along with those impressive shooting stats, Nash is the all-time leader in 50-40-90 season, with 4 years averaging 50-40-90 splits. And he joins Larry Bird as the only players to even have more than one season of shooting 50-40-90. And his career shooting splits also leave him as the closest player to achieve a career average of 50-40-90. But what does this have to do with Kidd? Well, since the beginning of the NBA stat nerd epidemic, NBA fans have been obsessed with good shooting and crazy stats. We saw how much the NBA fans were in awe of Russell Westbrook in 2017 when he won MVP averaging a 30-point triple-double. And we also saw how James Harden's historical scoring tear in 2018 won him the MVP award. And we saw how NBA fans jumped on the Giannis train in 2019 when he started to put up 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists a game en route to his first MVP award. And this was all understandable. NBA fans and media love players who put up crazy numbers and win. On the flip side, new age fans are quick to hate on or turn on players who may put up crazy numbers but can't shoot the ball well. Just look at Russ. After his historic 2017 MVP run, the Thunder brought Paul George in to increase their chances of winning a title. After the Thunder came up short in the 2018 and 2019 playoffs, the Russ slander began to start. But aside from the fact that the Thunder lost, a lot of the slander was because Russ regressed as a shooter. Never mind that he averaged a triple-double for 3 straight seasons. NBA fans became bored of Russ and started attacking his shooting ability. Then you look at Giannis after his 2019 MVP campaign. During the bubble in the 2020 playoffs, the Bucks were eliminated by the Heat, and the team was slandered, understandably so, after their collapse. But what wasn't necessary was the slander of Giannis as a player just because of his ability to shoot, or lack thereof. After the elimination of the Bucks, NBA fans seemed to forget just why Giannis was about to win his second straight MVP and his first Defensive Player of the Year award. We saw fans calling for LeBron to win MVP, which to be honest he had a case for, but the Bucks were by far the best regular season team in the league, offensively and defensively. And Giannis was the biggest reason for that, so it made sense for him to win MVP. Since then, Giannis slander has toned down, but when he is slandered, it's always something about how bad of a shooter he is. And the last example is an obvious one: Ben Simmons, one of the best all-around players in the NBA today, an elite passer, rebounder, finisher, and defender. But the one hole in his game is his shooting ability. And NBA fans on Twitter will swear up and down that Ben Simmons is trash, or he's an overrated basketball player solely because of his inability to shoot the three well. On the other hand, there are players like Curry, Beal, and Kyrie, for example, who don't defend as well, don't rebound as well, or pass as well as Simmons, but they are beloved because of their scoring and shooting abilities. Now, how does all of this tie in to Jason Kidd and Steve Nash? Jason Kidd was never an elite shooter throughout his entire career. In fact, his career shooting stats are 40% from the field, 35% from three, and 79% from the free throw line. But Kidd was still able to put together an amazing career, even though he only developed into an above-average shooter later in his career. But let's take a deep dive into what really makes Jason Kidd a legend. Jason Kidd was drafted in 1994 by the Dallas Mavericks as the second overall pick. During his first year with the Mavs, he averaged 11.7 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 7.7 assists, while leading the league in triple-doubles and winning co-Rookie of the Year alongside Grant Hill, while helping turn the Mavs from a 13-69 team to a 36-46 team. During his second season in the league, Kidd would continue the impressive start to his career by being voted an All-Star starter for the 1996 All-Star Game. But unfortunately, some turmoil within the Mavs organization would cause Kidd to be unhappy with the situation in Dallas, and he was traded to the Phoenix Suns during the 1996-1997, just 2 seasons after being drafted. And in Phoenix is where Kidd truly cemented himself as one of the most unique stars of his generation. In his first year in Phoenix, Kidd helped turn the Suns from a 40-42 team in the 95-96 season to a 56-26 team during the 96-97 season. And adding on to his early career success, Kidd led the league in assists and triple-doubles during the 98-99 season with 10.8 assists per game. And he would continue to lead the league in assists for 4 of the next 5 seasons. During the 1999-2000 season, the Suns paired Kidd with Penny Hardaway in hopes of forming an elite backcourt duo. The Suns with their new duo would go on to win 53 games in the regular season and knock the defending champion San Antonio Spurs out of the playoffs in the first round. The following year, during the 2000-2001 season, the Suns would finish with a 51-31 record despite Kidd's off-court issues after being charged with domestic abuse of his wife. During this time with the Suns, Kidd managed to make All-NBA First Team 3 consecutive seasons from 1999 to 2001, and he would also manage to make All-NBA All-Defensive First Team twice and All-NBA Defensive Second Team during his tenure. After playing in Phoenix for 5 years, during the 2001 season, Kidd was traded to the New Jersey Nets in a package that would send All-Star point guard Stephon Marbury and a few other pieces to Phoenix in exchange for Jason Kidd and Chris Dudley. In New Jersey, Kidd would join the 2000 first overall pick Kenyon Martin and rookies Richard Jefferson and Jason Collins. In Kidd's first year in New Jersey, the Nets saw a 26-game improvement from the previous season as they would go on to finish with a 52-30 regular season record. It was during this season that Kidd would see his highest finish in MVP voting as he finished second to none other than Tim Duncan, although many argued that Kidd should have won because of the way in which he turned the Nets from a struggling franchise to a finals contender. He would also go on to make the All-NBA First Team and the NBA All-Defensive First Team. It was also during the 2001-2002 season that Kidd and the Nets would achieve their first NBA Finals appearance after defeating the Reggie Miller-led Pacers in Round 1, the Charlotte Hornets in Round 2, and the Paul Pierce-Antoine Walker Boston Celtics in Round 3. As we all know, the Lakers would go on to win the 2002 NBA Finals, sweeping the Nets and completing their three-peat after dominant performances from Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Still, the Nets were looking for a chance to redeem themselves the next season. During the 2002-2003 season, Kidd would average a career-high 18.7 points per game and dish out a league-leading 8.9 assists per game while leading the Nets to a 49-33 record, and once again being named to All-NBA Second Team and NBA All-Defensive First Team. However, despite a 10-game winning streak in the middle of the 2002 NBA playoffs, which led to 2 series sweeps, the Nets would go on to lose in the finals again, but this time to the San Antonio Spurs in 6 games. Kidd would continue to make All-Star games, All-NBA teams, and All-Defensive teams while leading the Nets to several winning seasons. But despite their acquisition of NBA star Vince Carter from the Toronto Raptors in 2004, the Nets were unable to reach the finals again. Then, during the 2007-2008 NBA season, after almost being traded to the Lakers, Kidd was traded back to the Dallas Mavericks for All-Stars Devin Harris and Jerry Stackhouse, along with a few other players. And after seeing Steve Nash turn into a two-time MVP following his trade outside of Dallas, Mark Cuban and the Mavs hoped to give Dirk another star point guard in hopes of winning an NBA title. And during his second stint in Dallas, Kidd was able to reach the All-Star game once, while helping Dirk lead the Mavs to several winning seasons. Of course, during the 2010-2011 NBA season, Jason Kidd and Nowitzki again went into the playoffs in pursuit of their first NBA title. In the first round, the Mavs managed to handle the up-and-coming Trailblazers team led by Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge in 6 games. During the second round of the 2011 playoffs, the Mavs would completely dismantle the defending champion LA Lakers as Kobe Bryant pursued his second three-peat and his 6th title. And during this series, a 38-year-old Jason Kidd would play series-changing defense on Kobe Bryant during late-game situations, which ultimately led to the defending champs being swept in 4 games, including a 36-point blowout win in the closeout Game 4. The Mavs would then go on to defeat the up-and-coming Oklahoma City Thunder, led by young superstars Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. And then in the NBA Finals, Kidd would average 7.7 points, 6.3 assists, and 4.5 rebounds, as the Dallas Mavericks would go on to defeat the heavily favored Big Three-led Miami Heat in 6 games. And with that series win, Kidd would also become the oldest starting point guard to ever lead his team to a championship, adding to an already impressive resume and completing Kidd's pursuit of his first NBA title. And the following year, the Mavs would fail to defend their title as they would be swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder, who would then go on to become the Western Conference champs and lose to the Heat in 5 games. Following the 2012 NBA season, Kidd would then sign with the New York Knicks and play his final season in the NBA after 19 years, as he retired at the end of the 2012-2013 NBA season. Today, Jason Kidd is second all-time in assists and steals behind John Stockton in both categories, and he's 4th all-time in triple-doubles and 10th all-time in threes made. And at the time of his retirement, he was also the only player to retire with at least 15,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 7,000 rebounds. He is also the only point guard to average more than 8 assists and 6 rebounds per game in 15 separate seasons. All in all, despite all his impressive feats, Jason Kidd seems to be one of the most underrated players of all time. Despite the finals trips, All-NBA and All-Defensive team selections, and impact on the 2011 finals run, which many have claimed as the greatest finals run in NBA history, people still seem to forget just how good Jason Kidd was. And understandably so, Steve Nash seemed to be the fan favorite point guard of the 2000s because of his MVP awards and fast-paced style of play that led the 7 seconds or less Suns offense. But it shouldn't be far-fetched to declare Jason Kidd as the best point guard of the 2000s, or even a top 5 point guard of all time. I hope you all enjoyed this video I put together about Jason Kidd, and thanks for watching.